show you how to make it.
What it basically is an Asian version of sauerkraut that's generally spicy. And for ours, it's pretty simple. The ingredients list is fairly small. It's Napa cabbage, carrot, Daikon, which is actually an Asian radish. And then we're gonna have ginger, there's a Korean red pepper flake, garlic, and salt. And that is basically it.
There are a gajillion different variations on what ingredients you can put in kimchi. This is just how we do kimchi.
Mm-hmm. This is a fermented food, okay? So this is a living thing. So it's actually really, really good for you. That's why we started doing it. The first thing you want to do when you're making kimchi is get all your stuff together, okay? We're gonna be using Napa cabbage, and we have a little bit of pak choy from the garden, which is similar, not quite the same, but for our purposes, we're good with that because we have a lot of it. We want to use it. But what you want to do is get your Napa cabbage. I like to cut the end right off, this whole core part. I don't want that at all. And then, as you can see, it's just a bunch of leaves. I like to take it straight across this way, make one big long cut, and then I start, well, see, I'm going to need another cut on this one. Go like that. Start chopping it into about 1-inch pieces. You don't want it too big, but you don't want it so tiny that it falls apart on you either. It disappears. About 1-inch pieces. As you get towards the stem end, I go a little smaller, into the 1/2 inch. Now, once you've cut this, what you want to do is throw it into a colander, rinse it out into the sink. Dirt gets into the bottom of these things, it falls in, and you're not getting it out by washing normally, so you want to do that. All right, so we have our cabbage all rinsed up, and what I'm going to do is put it into a bowl. So we have all of our Napa cabbage, pak choy, green stuff cut up, right? And it fills the bowl. You can see that's a lot. Now it looks like a lot here, but I'm hoping to fill a gallon container. Hoping to. I don't know that this will actually. So this is the next part where you salt all this cabbage, okay? There is no exact amount that you salt it. I do what looks right. You're gonna rinse it all off later. So it's hard to oversalt it because you're gonna rinse it all off, but you can undersalt it. Basically, I just like to cover it up really good. You saw how much I had in here. I would say I probably used 1/4 to 1/2 cup, maybe. Now comes the nasty bit. You gotta get in here and mix this all through. And once you get it in there good, you wanna actually squeeze a little bit. If you've ever made sauerkraut, this will seem familiar. Okay, you're not packing it as much, but you do want to break up those membranes just a little bit to help it work through. You can see already it's half the size just by doing that. Now, once you get this mixed through, you're going to let this sit for, I usually go 1.5 to 2 hours. So as you can see, just squeezing it, getting all that salt mixed in, and you're going to see a lot of liquid come out. I'm going to let this sit for a while. I'm gonna go wash my hands. So the next part, we're gonna prepare the veggie. We're gonna use Daikon, which as I said, is a radish, and some carrot. Now, I'm only gonna use about 1/2 of this Daikon, so we only peel 1/2. I'll just chop that down. The rest, we'll use it for something else. We actually like it. What you wanna do is make matchsticks. Now, the way I like to do it is I stand it up, and I find a spot about there so I can make like a 1/4 inch plank right off of that. And I'm gonna make a couple of these and then show you. Put that to the side, maybe over there. I take that plank and cut it in 1/2, put it on top of itself, and then just start cutting out matchsticks. See the size? Nothing bigger than that. Smaller is okay if you really want to. I tend to like having a little bit of the bite of it, gives some crunch. Okay, so there's your Daikon. Now, carrot. Similar to what we did with the Daikon. Just gonna chop the end off. And I'm gonna make matchstick pieces about that size. Same idea, make planks. A little bit thinner on the carrot than we did with the Daikon, something like that. I like my fingers, so I'm gonna be careful there. Oop, that's chef's prerogative right there. Then, a little bit thinner. See, just a little bit smaller. And that's our carrot. Several minutes have passed, and I have chopped all of the veggies into teeny weeny little bits. The next step is going to be to make the paste. To make the paste, you're going to want a food processor. You can do it with a mortar and pestle. I don't have that kind of patience. Anyway, so what I've done is I've cut up our ginger into just smaller pieces, and the garlic is just kind of half smashed. And I have a 1/4 cup of the Korean red chili flake. Now, can you use other chili powder or chili flakes? Yes. Don't use chili powder because it won't be the same thing. But I have used like Italian style red chili flake. I know, blasphemy, right? But our friend who considers himself a connoisseur of Korean food and kimchi said it tasted really good. It just wasn't red enough. So this stuff, don't ask me what it is. It's Korean chili flake. He got it for us.
He got us this bag. Literally, it's this big.
It's huge.
None of it was written in English.
Yeah, so I have no idea what it really is. Anyway, you can get it at an Asian market, but like I said, you can use any chili flake, really. The taste will be roughly the same. And I have here a little bit of water just to help things along. So what I'm going to do is just throw all this stuff into the food processor. Goes chili flake. Now, I used a 1/4 cup. But you can put less in if you don't want it spicy. You can put more in if you want it spicy. The thing is, I like it to have some flavor too. So a 1/4 cup is actually quite a bit. This stuff's pretty hot. I'm already looking at that going, yeah, that is way too dry. I want to make a paste out of this. I'm just going to put a little bit of water in. It's looking a little bit dry. Put some more water in. Now, because I didn't fill it, I gotta get a spatula. I'll be right back so I can scrape this up. It's important to let this get homogeneous. I think I just like that word. Because you really want this to be truly a paste. Okay. So a little extra time working on it, not a bad idea. And I wish you could smell this.
It smells fabulous.
Ginger, garlic, and hot peppers. Yeah.
Yum.
They know what they're doing. All right, so we now have a paste, and it looks and smells incredible. I just want to get as much of it as I can out of the lid here. What I want to do now is get the paste all out of this bowl and into this bowl. How many people does it take to operate a food processor? Oh, that's nicer. Our old one was not quite so convenient to use. So you see, we have this lovely thick paste that has some good consistency to it. It's not watery really, and that's what we're looking for. So I have our cabbage that's been sitting for a while, and look at that. See all that water that came out? That's not rinse water. That's what the salt did. It pushes that water out of the lettuce. Cabbage. So what I'm gonna do now is take this, put it into a colander, rinse it off real good. Rinse it better than you think you should. Okay. The more salt you get off of this now, the better your kimchi is gonna be. Okay, so now we've rinsed our cabbage really, really good. I'm going to take it from the colander, as you can see, put it in here. And it's very, feels weird. It's almost squeaky. Well, it is. See, it's squeaky. It feels a little more rubbery than it did before. So that way we know that a lot of that liquid has been drained out of it. Then I'm going to take our veggies and get them all in there. Remember, that's the carrot and daikon. Now, if you wanted to add green onion, scallion, you can totally do that. Yeah, a lot of people put green onion and scallion into their kimchi. I was gonna, but we didn't have any handy. So, we'll just do it with the old-fashioned way that I've always done it. And I'm just gonna mix this through real good. Now comes the part that I will not do with my hands. Some people do. I don't suggest it. If you want to get rubber gloves, feel free. If you have really, 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 really strong hands and you don't mind burning sensation, go for it. I'm going to take the paste and dump it all right in there. Mix it all through. This is where, obviously using your hands would be best. I'm just not that daring. I like my hands to not be burning all the time. Plus, there's various things that we do with our hands that might be very uncomfortable with burning hands. Really, you just want to get this all incorporated, mix it through real good. And you can alter the amount of ginger, you can alter the amount of garlic. Some people use a lot more garlic, some people use a lot more ginger. What I understand is if you use more garlic, it'll actually come out, it'll stay on your breath longer, so it'll actually be hot longer than normal. So they say don't use too much garlic. Too much ginger will actually almost make it sweet tasting, which could be preferable. Some people might prefer it that way, but it doesn't come across the right way. Now, I want to make a disclaimer here too. There is almost no resemblance to an authentic kimchi recipe here. I just want to say that. So before anybody says, oh, well, you know, I know a Korean person who makes it. Yeah, you probably do. This is a basic kimchi. I'm just showing people how to make their own if they want to. You can augment this however you want. No, I am not going to put this in a clay pot and bury it in my backyard for about 3 months. Goes in here. This is where it's going to be treated. The way I do it, it's a little time consuming, but I use tongs. And I just get a scoop, bring the jar over close, have my lovely assistant hold the jar. Just jam it down in there and try to make as little mess as possible. I know, messes, they're almost synonymous with each other. But this works. So once you get towards the bottom, you're going to see a lot of juices and water in there. Make sure you get that. You want to have a little bit of liquid in this, because if it's too dry, it can't really work. What you're looking for is you're trying to activate the lactobacillus bacteria that's naturally present on most food. Now, and especially since we grew this in our backyard, we know there's lactobacillus in there. But we did it with stuff from the store, and it worked just fine. Basically, it's in the food. You can't really get rid of it. So I'm just packing this down a little bit. I like to give it a good push in there to get it to sit good. Then, we're brewers, as most of you probably know. So I'm going to use a fermenting lid that has a grommet in it, that rubber grommet. And I'm going to put an airlock in it, but I'm going to use the cheap stuff. I'm going to put some vodka in there.
Tito's, we say for me.
Yeah, you know this is cheap stuff because plastic bottle, that's a glass bottle. Yeah. And I'm just going to put a little bit in here over the bowl so I don't spill. See, who says can't teach an old dog new tricks? I'm putting an airlock on it. You don't have to, okay? It's not an absolute necessity, because here's the reason I do. It's gonna give off some gases. I want those gases to escape. I don't want them to be forming any extra pressure inside this vessel. I'm gonna let this sit for a day and see what happens with all those liquids, because I really wanna have more liquid in there. It should be almost submerged underwater all the time. I'm a little concerned that this is very dry, but I don't want to add water yet. I want to let it sit for a day and see what happens.
It will create its own juices just by the residual salt that are still in there is going to bleach more of the moisture out from the cabbage that it was salted and the vegetables that weren't salted. So they have their full moisture levels still left in them.
I'm not comfortable with this. Can you get me a glass of water? Just some of the RO water. Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable with the dryness that's in here. So I'm just going to add maybe 4 or 5 ounces of water, just a little bit. I think that will probably be enough that as this starts to compress in and pack down more on its own, we'll have good enough liquid submersion. The reason you don't want it to be too dry is anything sticking out the top could get moldy, okay? Now I'm hoping once the fermentation starts, that won't even be an issue because mold likes oxygen. There's oxygen here now, but that oxygen is just going to get pushed out. And that's where the airlock comes in. All that gas is going to push it out because carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen. So it's going to force it out the airlock and nothing new can come back in. That's why I like to use an airlock. So this is going to go for, I let mine go a couple weeks. I like it kind of tame. So, you know, we're going to let this go for about 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, we'll take it out and we'll give it a try. So it's been about 2 weeks. January 28th, we started the kimchi. And today, we're going to bottle it. And maybe give it a little taste. So the first thing I want to do, get the lid off. And we have sanitized bottles here. Now what we did is we got a pot of water, put the bottles in it, boiled them for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then took them out, dumped them out, and they're sitting here. They're still warm, thus the glove. So what I want to do now is get it from here into those bottles. I'm using a canning funnel. Yeah. Words. So all I'm going to do is use the tongs. I'm going to mix the top up just a little bit. I've been watching it. I did add a little bit of water to it just to keep that brine level high. I want to mix up the top a bit though because it was a little bit drier than the rest. And I'm just going to literally scoop it in. I'm thinking we have 4 quarts here. I'm not really sure. Might be a little bit more or a little bit less. So there was a little bit left over. Not really. I made a little bit left over. Because there's no way we were going to get away with making this and not trying it.
The vegetables still have a wonderful crunch to them. It's spicy, but
this is
it's
not
kimchi.
This is not a Killia kimchi.
No.
Killia kimchi. That's an interesting one. No, this is spicy, but it's not like, it's not rocket hot.
But because we use the
Flavors.
proper Korean chilies.
It's red.
Look, Neil. Look at how pretty it is. Our friend Neil, we make kimchi and we always give him some because he loves kimchi. This is good. Go make some. Eat it.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Challenge you. Do a chopstick. Do it.
I won.